I was preparing for tonight's engagement banquet when news of Miles's death arrived. On the phone, Mason's voice was choked with sobs. Eleanor, big brother, he fell off a cliff. They can't even find his body. The rouge compact slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. When did it happen? Last night. He went up the mountain looking for that rare orchid you wanted to give you as an engagement gift, and then. Mason was sobbing uncontrollably on the phone, with Micah comforting him beside. Second brother, don't cry. Eleanor must be heartbroken too right now. Heartbroken? I should be the one who's heartbroken. Miles was my fiancé, the most outstanding among the 3 orphans our family adopted, the person I trusted most since childhood. Yet at this moment, all I felt was sheer absurdity. Because I had been reborn. In my previous life, when I learned of Miles' death, I was so grief-stricken that I rejected all marriage proposals and spent the rest of my life alone, waiting for him. Until I was 80 years old, while recuperating abroad, I saw Miles, who had been dead for 60 years, in that private hospital. He was holding hands with my secretary Hannah, surrounded by their 2 children, the picture of a happy family. Hannah turned pale when she saw me. Miles simply smiled faintly and said, Eleanor, long time no see. I died instantly from a cerebral hemorrhage in that foreign hospital. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day before the engagement banquet. Back to the day Miles had his accident. Eleanor? Eleanor, are you all right? Mason's voice snapped me back to reality. I'm fine, I said calmly. Since Miles had an accident, let's immediately process the death certificate. And get back those 30% shares I transferred to him. The phone call went silent for a few seconds. Eleanor, what are you talking about? Big brother just had an accident, how could you? Mason. I cut him off, remember your place. All 3 of you are just orphans my family adopted. What I say goes. Hanging up the phone, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. 22-year-old Eleanor, the sole heiress of the conglomerate, born with a silver spoon in her mouth. In this life, I will never be fooled by those 3 ungrateful wolves again. When I went downstairs, Mason and Micah were already waiting in the living room. Both had red eyes, looking as if they'd just been crying. Seeing me come downstairs, Mason immediately stood up. Eleanor, we've already contacted the search and rescue team. There might still be hope for our eldest brother. No need, I sat down on the sofa. Since he can't be found, let's handle it as a missing person case. After 7 years, he'll be declared legally dead. Micah looked at me in disbelief. Eleanor, how can you be so cold-hearted? That was our eldest brother, your fiancé. Watching their performance, I sneered inwardly. In my past life, I had been completely fooled by these 2 men's crocodile tears, treating them like real brothers. But in reality, they had been transferring money to the deceased Miles all along, allowing him to live like a millionaire abroad. Yet I, the one who was deceived, wasted my entire life guarding a love that never existed. Mason, Micah, I called their names. Starting today, you will move out of the Song family. Also, all the shares and assets I transferred to you will be revoked. Mason suddenly stood up. Eleanor, have you lost your mind? We're family. Family? I laughed. My only family are Mom and Dad. The 3 of you were just brought home from the orphanage to keep me company because they thought I was lonely. Now the game is over. Micah's face darkened. Eleanor, you can't take your anger out on us just because something happened to our eldest brother. We've always treated you like a real sister, how can you say such things? I stood up, looking down at them. Then let me ask you this, legally speaking, what relation are you to my family? The 2 were left speechless. Indeed, when their parents adopted them back then, it wasn't through formal adoption, they were merely allowed to live in the house. Legally speaking, they were nothing. Butler, I called for the butler, prepare $1 million for each of them and have them leave this house. And notify the lawyer to reclaim all the assets I previously transferred. The butler hesitated. This might not be appropriate. What's wrong with that? I said coldly, I'm the sole heir. What I say goes. Mason wanted to say more, but I raised my hand to stop him. You have 1 hour to pack your things. If you're still here when time's up, I'll call security. Watching the two of them scurry away in disgrace, I finally let out a sigh of relief. In this life, I'll never play the fool again. Since Miles chose death, I'll grant him his wish. I'll make sure he disappears from my world for good. Taking out my phone, I dialed a number. Nathaniel, it's me. A surprised voice came from the other end of the line. Eleanor? What made you think of calling me? Nathaniel, my childhood sweetheart, the playmate I grew up with. In my past life, because of Miles, we drifted apart and ultimately missed each other. This time, I'm going to seize the happiness that belongs to me. Nathaniel, I want to see you. Nathaniel arrived half an hour earlier than the scheduled time. When I spotted him in the corner of the cafe, he was anxiously checking his watch. 3 years apart had made him more mature and composed, yet his eyes remained as clear as ever. Nathaniel, I called out as I approached him. He looked up abruptly, his eyes lighting up with surprise the moment he saw me. Eleanor, you've lost weight. I sat across from him, momentarily at a loss for words. In our previous life, the last time we'd seen each other was at his wedding. He had married a well-matched young lady from a wealthy family, while I attended that wedding alone, carrying my longing for Miles in my heart. At the wedding, he asked if I was doing well. I said I was fine. He said that was good. Then we never saw each other again. Eleanor? Nathaniel waved his hand before my eyes. What are you thinking about? Nothing. I snapped out of it. Nathaniel, there's something I need to tell you. Miles is dead. Nathaniel froze for a moment, then grabbed my hand anxiously. When did this happen? Are you okay? His hand was so warm, reminding me of how he used to hold my hand to comfort me whenever I cried as a child. Last night, he fell off a cliff. I said calmly, I'm fine. Eleanor. Nathaniel hesitated, unable to continue. I knew what he wanted to say. In my previous life, he'd worn this same expression, wanting to comfort me but unsure of what words to use. Nathaniel, I want to ask you something. I met his gaze directly. If I weren't married now, would you marry me? Nathaniel's eyes instantly brightened. Eleanor, are you serious? I nodded. I've figured it out. What I want isn't some earth-shattering love, just someone who genuinely cares for me. And you're the only person I know who's never lied to me. Nathaniel gripped my hand tightly. Eleanor, I've waited all these years hoping one day you'd see me. I do, of course I want to marry you. Watching his emotional reaction, warmth flooded my heart. This must be true love. No need for grand vows or dramatic gestures, just mutual sincerity. Then let's get engaged, I said, at the originally scheduled time and place. Nathaniel nodded eagerly. Okay, whatever you say. After leaving the cafe, my phone didn't stop ringing. All calls were from Mason and Micah. I didn't answer a single one. By evening, they had come straight to my doorstep. Eleanor, you can't do this to us. Mason shouted outside the door, we grew up together, how can you push us away just because of our elder brother's death? Micah also chimed in from the side. Eleanor, we know you're grieving right now, but you can't take it out on us. If Big Brother knew you were treating us like this, his spirit wouldn't rest in peace. I stood by the second-floor window, watching them coldly. The butler approached. Should I call security to drive them away? No need. I shook my head. Let them make a scene. They'll be moving out tomorrow anyway. Once they've had their fill, they'll leave on their own. Sure enough, after 2 hours of chaos, Mason and Micah slunk away in disgrace. Early the next morning, I received a call from my lawyer. Eleanor, the assets you requested to reclaim have been processed, and the shares have been transferred back to your name. However, there's something rather peculiar. What is it? Miles' share transfer records show that the day before the incident, he attempted to transfer his shares to someone named Hannah. But it wasn't completed due to insufficient paperwork. Hannah. my secretary, and also Miles' mistress. In my past life, I had considered her my most trusted assistant. Little did I know she'd been bribed by Miles all along. I understand. I hung up the phone. Hannah will be fired today. In the afternoon, Hannah came to me with red, teary eyes. Boss, why are you firing me? Did I do something wrong? Watching her act, I sneered inwardly. No reason. I just don't like you. Hannah froze for a moment. You can't take out your anger about Miles on me. Taking it out on me? I laughed. Hannah, what exactly should I be taking out on you? Hannah's expression became uneasy. I don't understand what you mean. You don't understand? I stood up and walked over to her. Then let me ask you, why did Miles transfer his shares to you the day before the accident? Hannah's face instantly turned pale. I don't know, maybe Miles wanted to thank me for my work over the years. Gratitude? My voice grew colder. Using shares worth tens of millions of dollars to thank a mere secretary? Hannah, do you take me for a fool? Hannah finally couldn't hold on any longer and fell to her knees with a thud. Boss, I was wrong, I was really wrong. But Miles and I truly love each other, we never meant to hurt you. True love? The memory of what I witnessed abroad in my past life made me sick to my stomach. Would someone who truly loves another deceive people for 60 years? I said coldly. Hannah froze. 60 years? What are you talking about? Realizing I'd slipped up, I quickly corrected myself. I meant, if they truly love each other, why not be together openly? Why resort to this underhanded method? Hannah kept her head lowered in silence. Get out. I waved my hand dismissively. Starting today, I don't ever want to see you again. Hannah ran out in tears. I knew she would definitely go find Mason and Micah. Well then, let the storm come even more fiercely. Sure enough, that very evening, Mason, Micah, and Hannah all appeared together at my doorstep. This time they'd grown smarter. They didn't make a scene, but quietly knelt outside the door. Passers-by pointed and whispered, saying I was too cold-hearted as the young mistress of the house, kicking out my late fiancé's brothers right after his death. I sat in the living room, watching the three people outside through the window. In my past life, I couldn't stand others speaking ill of me and would compromise every time. But in this life, I will never be soft-hearted again. The reporters outside are growing in number. The butler approached to report. Shall we drive them away? No need. I picked up the teacup and took a slow sip. Let them kneel. Tomorrow happens to be mine and Nathaniel's engagement banquet. Let everyone see what it means to reap what they've sown. Early the next morning, I changed into the carefully selected gown. It was a champagne-colored lawn dress, simple yet elegant, looking nothing like morning attire. The butler looked at my outfit with concern. Isn't this a bit inappropriate? What's inappropriate about it? I adjusted my earrings. I'm not dead, so why should I dress like a widow? The engagement banquet was held on the top floor of a hotel owned by my corporation. The guests were all socialites and nobles, including my parents' friends, along with many media outlets. When Nathaniel and I walked hand in hand into the banquet hall, everyone was stunned. Because just 3 days ago, everyone had thought I would cancel this engagement banquet due to Miles's death. No one expected that not only did I not cancel it, but I also changed the groom. Eleanor, are you sure you want to do this? Nathaniel whispered to me. I looked at the shocked faces in the audience and nodded firmly. I'm sure. The MC began narrating our love story, how we grew up together as childhood sweethearts, innocent and deeply in love. The guests below the stage whispered among themselves, but out of respect for my family's reputation, no one dared to openly question it. Halfway through the ceremony, the banquet hall doors suddenly burst open. Mason, Micah, and Hannah rushed in. Eleanor, you can't do this. Mason shouted loudly, Big Brother just died 3 days ago, and you're already engaged to another man. How could you do this to him? Micah chimed in from the side, Big Brother loved you so much, he even gave his life for you. How could you treat him like this? Hannah cried with pearly tears streaming down her face. Miles loved you so much, how could you trample on his feelings like this? The banquet hall erupted in uproar. The guests began whispering among themselves, some saying I was too heartless, others saying poor Miles indeed. Looking at the three people before me, I suddenly laughed. You all say Miles loves me? I took the MC's microphone. Then let me ask you, would someone who truly loves me secretly transfer shares worth millions to another woman the day before our engagement? Hannah's face instantly turned pale. Mason and Micah were also stunned, clearly they hadn't known about this. Hannah, why don't you tell everyone why Miles transferred tens of millions in shares to you? I stared at her. Is it because you two just have a normal working relationship? Hannah stammered, unable to respond. The guests below the stage began whispering among themselves, their gazes towards Hannah growing increasingly meaningful. And also, Mason, Micah. I turned to look at those two brothers. You keep saying Miles loved me, so why was he secretly selling all the gifts I gave him during the month before his accident? Do you really not know where those gifts ended up? Mason's face turned grim. Eleanor, what nonsense are you talking about? Nonsense? I scoffed. Butler, bring out those receipts. The butler had already prepared everything and promptly came on stage to hand me a stack of receipts. I raised the receipts and spoke into the microphone. These are Miles' pawnshop records. He pawned every gift I gave him, the watch, cufflinks, and tie clip. They were exchanged for a total of $200,000 in cash. And all that money was ultimately transferred to Hannah. The audience fell completely silent. Everyone was watching the four people on stage, waiting to see what would happen next. Micah wanted to defend Miles. Maybe Big Brother has his own difficulties. Difficulties? I interrupted him. What kind of difficulties require him to secretly give money to another woman behind his fiancé's back? And on the day before the engagement at that? Hannah finally broke down, crying as she said, Miles and I are truly in love. We were planning to leave and start fresh abroad after your engagement. But Miles didn't want to owe you anything, that's why he wanted to return the shares to you. These words sent shockwaves through the entire room. Everyone suddenly understood, Miles hadn't died accidentally, but had planned his departure all along. He'd faked his death to elope with his lover. Nathaniel squeezed my hand, giving me strength. I took a deep breath and continued, now do you all understand? My fiancé chose to fake his death to escape our marriage the day before our engagement. And why should I remain a widow my entire life for someone who deceived and betrayed me? Applause erupted from the audience. People began clapping for me, supporting my decision. Mason and Micah's faces turned ashen, knowing they were utterly finished. Hannah ran out of the banquet hall in tears. Watching her retreating figure, I felt a surge of satisfaction. In my past life, you deceived me for a lifetime. In this life, I will make you pay the price. After the engagement banquet, public opinion began to shift. The previous accusations of me being cold-blooded and heartless vanished, replaced by doubts about Miles's character. Some media outlets dug up more inside information, discovering that Miles had indeed been selling off his assets before his death. Others even came forward with claims of having seen intimate photos of him with Hannah. Mason and Micah were completely panicked. Having lost the protection of my family, the assets I had transferred to them, they now couldn't even preserve their reputation. What was even worse, they couldn't get in touch with Miles at all. Sitting in my office, I looked over the investigation report handed to me by my assistant. Eleanor, we've confirmed it, Miles indeed didn't die. He's on a small island abroad now, using a fake identity. Hannah must have gone to find him. Flipping through the photos, I saw familiar faces. It was still that same Miles, still that same Hannah. Only this time, without my money, they weren't living well. Keep watching them. I closed the file, report immediately if there's any movement. After the assistant nodded and left, Nathaniel pushed the door open and walked in. Finished with work? He sat down across from me. I've reserved a restaurant. Dinner together tonight? All right. I nodded, then suddenly remembered something. Nathaniel, if I told you I had a very long dream about our future, would you believe me? Nathaniel froze for a moment, then smiled. What dream? A dream where I trusted Miles and missed you for a lifetime. I looked into his eyes. A dream where you ended up marrying someone else, and I grew old alone. A dream where at 80 years old, I finally realized the biggest mistake of my life was not choosing you sooner. Nathaniel's expression turned serious. Eleanor, that was just a dream. Now that you've chosen me, we'll have a wonderful future together. I held his hand. Yes, it was just a dream. But deep down, I knew it wasn't a dream, it was something that had truly happened. A lesson paid for with a lifetime of suffering. In this life, I won't make the same mistake again. During dinner, Nathaniel brought up the wedding plans. Eleanor, what kind of wedding would you like? Something simple will do, I said after some thought. Invite only true friends and family, no need for too much extravagance. I want a pure wedding, free from any profit motives or schemes. Nathaniel nodded. I'll follow your lead. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Eleanor? This is Mason, came Mason's hoarse voice over the phone. I'd like to talk to you. There's nothing for us to discuss. I was about to hang up. It's about Big Brother. Mason said urgently. He's still alive, but in great danger now. I let out a cold laugh. I know he's alive, and I know exactly where he is. Mason, do you really think I'm that easy to fool? The other end of the line fell silent for several seconds. Eleanor, I know you're angry, but Big Brother really is in trouble. He's been kidnapped abroad, and the kidnappers are demanding $10 million in ransom. But we simply don't have that kind of money right now. Listening to Mason's words, I sneered inwardly. The same old trick again. In my previous life, they had used similar tactics, claiming Miles was ill abroad and needed money for treatment, which fooled me into transferring a considerable sum. Mason, do you really think I'm an idiot? My voice grew colder. First you say he's dead, then that he's been kidnapped. What other new tricks do you have? Spit them all out at once. Eleanor, I'm not lying to you. Mason's voice trembled with tears. The kidnappers sent photos. Big Brother was beaten badly. Enough. I cut him off. Mason, I've seen through all three of you. Want money? Not a chance. Want my sympathy? Even less likely. Hanging up the phone, I turned to Nathaniel. Sorry about that. It interrupted our date. Nathaniel shook his head. No problem. Are they still bothering you? Yes, but it'll be over soon. I picked up my wine glass. Nathaniel, let's talk about something happier. For example, where should we go for our honeymoon? Nathaniel's eyes lit up. Where would you like to go? How about the Maldives? I pondered. I want to see the real ocean, that pure shade of blue without any impurities. In my past life, I never truly traveled, always held back by various commitments. In this lifetime, I want to see the beauty of the world. Perfect, I'll make the arrangements right away, Nathaniel said. I'm going to give you the perfect honeymoon. Watching his excited expression, warmth welled up in my heart. This must be true love. It doesn't need to be earth-shattering, just genuine feelings for each other. The next day, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from the foreign police. Eleanor, we've received a report that a man named Miles, who claims to be your fiancé, was assaulted locally. He provided your contact information, saying you would vouch for him. I laughed coldly. Officer, I believe you're mistaken. Miles was indeed my fiancé once, but he's dead. He died in an accident 3 months ago. I can even provide you with the death certificate. The officer on the other end of the line clearly hesitated. Death certificate? But we do have someone named Miles here. That might be someone impersonating him, I said calmly. I suggest you carefully investigate his identification documents. Additionally, I must state that I take no responsibility for any of this person's actions. Hanging up the phone, I was in high spirits. Miles, oh Miles, did you think pretending to be dead would let you escape everything? Now you've truly become a dead man, let's see how you handle this. In the afternoon, Mason called again. This time his voice was even more frantic. Eleanor, something really happened to the boss. The foreign police have contacted you, why won't you acknowledge his identity? Because Miles is dead, I said coldly. The dead don't need identities. Eleanor, you can't do this. Mason was practically pleading. No matter what, the boss was once your fiancé. Once. I cut him off. Mason, let me ask you, can a man who abandoned his fiancée for another woman still be called a fiancé? Does someone who treats love with deceit and betrayal still deserve redemption? Mason was left speechless. Also, Mason, I want to remind you of one thing. My voice turned even icier, the three of you are no longer part of my family now. The trouble Miles caused overseas has nothing to do with me. If you want to save him, figure it out yourselves. After hanging up, I made a call to my assistant. Contact several media outlets for me. I need to clarify some matters. The next day, major media outlets published my statement. In it, I clearly stated that Miles had died in an accident 3 months prior, and I provided the official death certificate. I also declared that if anyone was impersonating Miles to engage in illegal activities overseas, it had nothing to do with me. As soon as this statement was released, the internet exploded with reactions. Some claimed Miles had truly died, and the person abroad was an imposter. Others said Miles had faked his death to escape the marriage and was now facing the consequences of his own actions. But no matter what, one thing became clear to everyone: Eleanor and Miles had completely severed all ties. Mason and Micah grew desperate. They rushed to my doorstep, knelt down, and begged me in tears to save Miles. Eleanor, no matter what wrong our eldest brother has done, he's still the brother we grew up with. You can't just stand by and watch him die. I stood by the window watching them, my heart completely unmoved. In my past life, it was precisely this so-called brotherly bond that fooled me for a lifetime. This time, I won't soften my heart again. Shall I have security escort them away? The butler asked. No need. I shook my head, let them kneel. The longer they kneel, the better it proves their hypocrisy. Sure enough, after kneeling for 3 hours, Mason and Micah couldn't hold on any longer. They leaned against the wall to stand up and slunk away. In the evening, Nathaniel came to have dinner with me. How's the Miles situation coming along? He asked with concern. It's almost done. I cut into the steak. He's truly become a person without identity now, even returning home would be difficult. As for Mason and Micah, without my support, they won't last long. Nathaniel nodded, that's good. I was just worried they might keep bothering you. They won't, I smiled. Nathaniel, when is our wedding scheduled for? How about next month? Nathaniel's eyes shone with anticipation. I've already started preparing, I'll give you the perfect wedding. Okay, I nodded. Next month, we'll officially be together. The thought of the upcoming wedding fills my heart with anticipation. In this lifetime, I can finally be with someone who truly loves me. And those who once hurt me will get their just desserts. 1 week before the wedding, I received a peculiar package. Inside were a disc and a letter. The letter was from Hannah. Eleanor, I know you hate us, but I must tell you a secret. Miles is indeed still alive, but he's in grave danger now. He was captured by the local gangsters who claim he owes them a huge debt. The disc contains footage I secretly recorded, you'll know I'm not lying when you see it. I know I have no right to beg you, but Miles, he's really close to death. After reading the letter, I let out a cold laugh. Still putting on an act. But since they've gone to such lengths to prepare this performance, I ought to play along. I inserted the disc into the computer and clicked play. The footage was blurry, as if secretly recorded with a phone. It was indeed Miles, but he looked wretched, his face bruised, his clothes filthy. Several men who appeared to be locals surrounded him, speaking a language I couldn't understand. Then someone translated in English, "When will you pay back the money you owe us?" Miles pleaded, "Just give me a little more time." My fiancé is very wealthy, she'll come to rescue me. Fiancé? The translator sneered, your fiancé has already married someone else, and even announced in the newspaper that you were dead. Miles' face instantly turned deathly pale. Impossible, Eleanor wouldn't do this to me. See for yourself. The man pulled out a newspaper bearing the photo of my engagement to Nathaniel. Seeing the photograph, Miles completely broke down. No, this can't be. Eleanor loved me, how could she do this? The video ended there. I turned off the computer, feeling nothing inside. It might be real, or it might be staged. But either way, I won't be fooled again. Miles chose betrayal, so he must bear the consequences of betrayal. Hannah chose to be the other woman, so she must face the fate of another woman. I'm not a savior, I have no obligation to save those who have hurt me. That evening, Mason called again. Eleanor, did you see the disc Hannah sent you? I did, I replied flatly. Then why won't you save Big Brother? Mason's voice was desperate. He's really dying. Mason, let me ask you a question, I interrupted him. If Miles had successfully eloped with Hannah back then, would you have ever told me the truth? Mason remained silent. If I had spent my whole life grieving for someone who never existed, would your conscience have troubled you? Mason still didn't speak. Since you can't answer, it proves you never truly considered me family, I said coldly. In that case, why should I be responsible for your family? Eleanor. Mason still wanted to say more. Mason, I'll say this one last time, my voice grew even more resolute. Whether Miles lives or dies has nothing to do with me. Who you people are also has nothing to do with me. From now on, let's not contact each other anymore. After hanging up the phone, I felt completely liberated. All those bonds of loyalty that once constrained me had been severed by my own hands. In this lifetime, I will live only for myself. The next day, Nathaniel and I went to choose wedding rings. Inside the jewelry store, Nathaniel carefully selected a ring for me. How about this one? He picked up a diamond ring. Or do you prefer something simpler? I like this one. I pointed to a minimalist yet exquisite ring. Nothing too complicated or flashy. Just like our relationship, simple and beautiful. Nathaniel slipped the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. Eleanor, I swear, I will love you for the rest of my life. He looked into my eyes earnestly, I will never let you suffer any grievance. I was moved by his sincerity, and my eyes grew a little moist. Nathaniel, I swear too, this time I won't make any more mistakes, I won't miss you again. We held each other tightly in the jewelry store, like a prince and princess in a fairy tale. And the shadows of the past were all left behind us. When I returned home in the evening, I received a call from my assistant. Boss, there's the latest news. Miles has indeed been caught, but not by the mob, it was by the foreign police. He is suspected of multiple charges, including illegal entry, identity fraud, and financial fraud. It seems he's really done for this time. Hearing this, I felt a mix of emotions. This is the price of betrayal. Miles thought he could use deception to gain freedom, but he didn't realize freedom comes at a cost. I understand, I said. Keep an eye on the follow-up situation, but don't interfere. Yes, boss. After hanging up the phone, I walked to the window and looked at the night scenery outside. Tomorrow is my wedding day. And Miles will never appear in my life again. This time, it's truly over. On the wedding day, the weather was surprisingly beautiful. The sun was shining with a gentle breeze, as if the heavens were blessing us. Wearing a pure white wedding dress, I stood in front of the mirror for a final makeup check. This wedding dress was designed by me personally, simple yet elegant, without too many complicated decorations. Just like my current state of mind, pure and beautiful. Miss, you look truly beautiful, the makeup artist praised sincerely. Thank you, I said with a smile. Today is the most important day of my life. An assistant approached and reported, Boss, all the guests have arrived. Nathaniel is waiting for you at the altar. I nodded and took a deep breath. This time I was marrying someone who truly loved me. The wedding venue was decorated warmly, without excessive luxury, yet every detail showed thoughtfulness. White rose petals covered the red carpet, and the air was filled with a delicate floral fragrance. When I appeared at the church entrance on my father's arm, everyone rose to their feet. Their eyes held no doubt or gossip, only blessings for the newlyweds. Nathaniel stood on the stage, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his eyes filled with tenderness. When our gazes met, tears actually welled up in his eyes. "Eleanor, you look stunning," my father whispered in my ear. "Nathaniel is a good man, he'll take good care of you." "I know, Dad," I replied. "This time, I've chosen right." Father placed my hand in Nathaniel's, then patted his shoulder. "Nathaniel, I'm entrusting you with my most precious daughter. I will protect her with my life," Nathaniel said solemnly. The priest began officiating the ceremony, asking if we were willing to become husband and wife. "Nathaniel, do you take Eleanor to be your wife, to love, honor, and protect her, in sickness and in health, till death do you part?" "I do." Nathaniel's voice was clear and resolute. "Eleanor, do you take Nathaniel to be your husband, to love him, honor him, and support him, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part?" "I do." My voice was soft yet equally firm. Just as we were about to exchange rings, the church doors suddenly burst open. Everyone turned to look and saw Mason stumbling in alone. He looked haggard, unshaven, and his clothes were disheveled. "Eleanor," he shouted loudly, "you can't marry him. Big brother, he's really dead." The church erupted in commotion. Guests began whispering among themselves, some recognizing Mason as Miles' younger brother. I looked at Mason below the stage, my heart completely unmoved. "Security," I said coolly. Security guards immediately came over to drag Mason out. But Mason struggled desperately. "Eleanor, listen to me. Big brother really is dead. The foreign police just notified us, Big brother was killed in prison. Before he died, he kept calling your name, saying he was wrong, saying he was sorry." I watched Mason's performance and said coldly, "Mason, Miles died 3 months ago. Nothing you say now matters." "But..." Mason still wanted to speak. "Take him out," I ordered. The security guards immediately moved into action, dragging Mason out of the church. I turned to the priest. "Please continue." The priest nodded and resumed the ceremony. We exchanged rings and made eternal vows. When the priest pronounced us officially husband and wife, the entire venue erupted in warm applause. Nathaniel gently kissed my forehead, then embraced me. "Eleanor, from this day forward, we are truly family." "Yes." I held him tightly. "This time, we won't be separated again." After the wedding, we held a simple reception. Guests came to congratulate us, each face bearing genuine smiles. No one mentioned Miles again, as if that person had never existed. In the evening, Nathaniel and I returned to our new home. It was the villa we had chosen together, decorated simply yet warmly. "Eleanor, are you tired?" Nathaniel asked with concern. "Not at all," I shook my head. "Today is the happiest day of my life." "Nathaniel, thank you for waiting for me all this time." "Silly," Nathaniel gently touched my cheek. "When you love someone, no amount of waiting is too long." Looking into his sincere eyes, my heart overflowed with emotion. This was true love. No deception needed, no betrayal, no scheming. Just two sincere hearts facing each other, that was more than enough. The post-marriage life was even more wonderful than I'd imagined. Nathaniel spoiled me like a little princess, always putting me first and never letting me suffer the slightest grievance. And I loved him with all my heart, our bond growing stronger each day. 2 months later, I unexpectedly became pregnant. "Really?" Nathaniel stared at the test results, his hands trembling with excitement. "Are we having a baby?" "Yes." I smiled and nodded. "You're going to be a dad." Nathaniel carefully held me, afraid to touch my stomach. "Eleanor, this is wonderful, we're having a baby. We'll be very happy, I continued his sentence, because he has the best parents in the world. During that time, both Mason and Micah disappeared and never bothered us again. I thought the matter had ended there. Until one day, during my prenatal checkup at the hospital, I ran into Hannah. She looked very haggard, having lost much weight, her eyes now vacant. Seeing me, she froze for a few seconds before taking the initiative to walk over. Eleanor. Her voice was very soft. Congratulations. I glanced at her without speaking. Eleanor, I want to tell you something. Hannah continued, Miles is really dead. I know, I said lightly. Before he died. Hannah's tears fell. He said he was wrong, that he shouldn't have deceived you. He said if there's a next life, he would definitely cherish you properly. I listened to her words without any fluctuation in my heart. Hannah, do you really think I'd believe you? Hannah froze for a moment. Eleanor, I'm not lying to you. Miles truly regretted it deeply. Regret? I sneered. If we had successfully eloped back then, would he still feel regret? If I hadn't discovered the truth, would he still regret it? Hannah, Miles' regret is nothing more than bitterness over his failed scheme. Hannah lowered her head, not daring to speak further. And one more thing, Hannah. I looked at her. I hope this will be our last meeting. I'm happy now, and I don't want to be disturbed by the past. Hannah nodded and then silently walked away. Watching her retreating figure, I gently stroked my belly. My dear, Mommy has cleared away all the gloom for you. You can grow up in a pure world now. 6 months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She had Nathaniel's eyes and brows but my lips, as adorable as a little angel. She looks like you, Nathaniel said, carefully cradling our daughter, his eyes brimming with adoration. Just like you, I said with a smile. She's the fruit of our love. We named our daughter Nora, hoping she would always be surrounded by love and remain pure-hearted and kind. After having our daughter, our lives became busier but also more fulfilling. Nathaniel is a wonderful father. The first thing he does after coming home from work every day is play with our daughter. And I'm reveling in the joy of motherhood, watching our little girl grow day by day. Occasionally I think back to my previous life, to that woman who grew old alone. Had I not been reborn, I would never have known this happiness. Fate has given me a second chance, allowing me to rewrite my life's choices. When our daughter turned 1, we threw a grand birthday party. All our friends came, and everyone marveled at how adorable our little girl was. Eleanor, you're truly blessed, my best friend sighed with emotion. Nathaniel treats you and Nora so wonderfully. Yes, I replied, watching Nathaniel play with our daughter, my heart overflowing with gratitude. I've finally found true happiness. Those past matters no longer hold any importance. My best friend nodded. By the way, have you heard? Both Mason and Micah aren't doing well. I was stunned for a moment. What happened? Mason owes a lot of debt outside and is being chased for money. I heard he fled to another city. Micah is still in this city, but living in poverty, working at a small company. As I listened to this news, I felt no satisfaction in my heart. I no longer cared about how those people ended up. Right now, I only care about my family, my husband, my daughter. Everything else is irrelevant to me. When my daughter was 3 years old, an unexpected incident occurred. That day, I was playing with her in the park when suddenly a man approached us. It was Micah. He looked much older than 3 years ago, with noticeably more gray in his hair. Eleanor, he called my name, his voice trembling slightly. My daughter hid behind me, timidly eyeing the stranger. Mommy, who is this uncle? She asked in her childish voice. Nobody. I picked up my daughter, ready to leave. Nora, let's go home. Eleanor, wait. Micah caught up to us. I just wanted to see how you're doing. I stopped in my tracks and looked back at him. Micah, we have nothing to talk about. I know we wronged you. Tears welled up in Micah's eyes, but I truly miss the old days. Miss the times when we were together as a family. I looked at him, my heart filled with mixed emotions. In my previous life, we did live like a family, and back then I truly considered them my closest people. But later I learned that it was all a lie. Micah, let bygones be bygones. I hugged my daughter tighter. I have my own family now, and I'm very happy. I know, I can see that. Micah gazed at the daughter in my arms, his eyes full of longing. She's very beautiful, just like you when you were little. My daughter looked at Micah curiously and then said to me, Mommy, this uncle is crying. Yes, Micah was crying. This 30-year-old man was weeping in front of strangers at the park. I'm sorry, Eleanor, he choked out, we're truly sorry. If time could reverse, I would never have let our eldest brother do those things. I would have told you the truth, wouldn't have let you be deceived for so long. As I looked at him, fragments of childhood suddenly surfaced in my memory. Back then Micah was still young, always trailing behind me calling Eleanor. Once when I was sick, he secretly gave me the candy he couldn't bear to eat himself. Back then, we truly felt like a real family. But what happened later? Later, they chose to deceive me for a lifetime for Miles' sake. Micah, some mistakes leave no room for second chances, I said softly. I forgive you, but we can't go back to how things were. Micah nodded, I understand. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And thank you for adopting us back then, for giving us a home. After saying this, he bowed deeply, then turned and left. My daughter asked in my arms, Mommy, why was that uncle crying? Because he did something wrong. I gently stroked my daughter's hair. Nora, we must be honest people. We can't lie or hurt others, understand? Understand. My daughter nodded obediently. Mommy, let's go home to Daddy. Okay. I carried my daughter and walked toward the parking lot. When we got home, Nathaniel was already preparing dinner. Why are you back so late? He asked with concern. Ran into some things. I put my daughter down and then told him what happened today. After listening, Nathaniel hugged me. Eleanor, let the past be in the past. We're happy now, and that's enough. Yes. I leaned into his embrace. Nathaniel, I love you. I love you too. He kissed my forehead, always will. That night, I had a dream. I dreamed of my childhood days playing with Miles and the others. Back then, we were all still so young, unaware of what love meant, or what betrayal was. In the dream, we were happy, like real siblings. When I woke up, I found my pillow wet. Turns out I'd been crying. Not for Miles, not for that deceived love. But for those beautiful bygone days, for that once innocent affection. Nathaniel woke up to my stirring. Eleanor, what's wrong? Nothing, just a dream. I nestled into his arms. Nathaniel, promise we'll be together forever, okay? Of course. He gently stroked my back. We'll stay together, watching Nora grow up, seeing her marry and have children. Then we'll grow old together, right until our last breath. Hearing his words, an infinite warmth surged in my heart. This was exactly the future I wanted. No need for earth-shattering events, just a simple and peaceful life spent together. Let all past grievances drift away with the wind. What I have now is the best there is. 5 years later, our daughter was already 8 years old and attending elementary school. She was clever, adorable, and had excellent grades, a source of pride for both Nathaniel and me. That day, I was in the middle of a company meeting when I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. Is this Eleanor? I'm a nurse from the hospital. There's a patient named Mason who listed your contact information on the critical condition notice. He's in a very critical state now. Could you come to the hospital? I was taken aback. Mason? It had been a long time since I last heard that name. What illness does he have? I asked. Late-stage leukemia. There's no more point in treatment, the nurse said softly. He said you are the most important person to him and hopes to see you one last time. I remained silent for a few seconds. I understand. I'll come over. After hanging up, I told my assistant to cancel the afternoon meeting and drove to the hospital. In the ward, Mason lay on the bed, emaciated beyond recognition. When he saw me enter, he struggled to sit up but couldn't manage it. "Eleanor, you came." His voice was weak, I thought. "I thought you wouldn't come." I sat down by the bedside. "Mason, how could you get this kind of illness?" "It's probably karma." He gave a bitter smile. "Eleanor, I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I wanted to say I'm sorry. All these years I've been filled with regret, remorse for what I did to you back then." Looking at his haggard appearance, a wave of complex emotions surged within me. "Mason, let's not bring up the past anymore." "Eleanor, do you know?" Mason's eyes welled up with tears. "These years have been very hard for me. Every night I dream of childhood, of when our family was together. Back then you were so good to us, treating us like your own younger brothers. But what did we do? For the sake of our eldest brother, we chose to deceive you. Eleanor, can you forgive me?" Looking into his pleading eyes, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. "Mason, I forgave you all long ago," I said softly. "Hating someone is too exhausting. I don't want to live my life that way." Tears streamed down Mason's face as he heard my words. "Thank you, Eleanor. Now that I have your forgiveness, I can leave without regrets." "Mason, is there anything else you'd like to say?" I asked. I just want to know if you're doing well now." "Very well." I nodded. "I have a husband who loves me and an adorable daughter. We are very happy." Mason smiled, a relieved smile. That's good, that's good. "Eleanor, could you let me see a photo of your daughter?" I took out my phone and found a picture of my daughter to show him. "She is very beautiful." Mason looked at the photo, his eyes full of admiration. "She looks just like you did when you were little. You must be a wonderful mother." "I'll do my best," I said. "Eleanor, I have a favor to ask of you." Mason held my hand. "Micah, he's not doing well now. If you get the chance, could you look after him a little?" I hesitated. "Mason, I know this is too much to ask," Mason interrupted, "but he's truly pitiful with no one to care for him. We grew up together, I can't just watch him suffer like this." I looked into Mason's pleading eyes and finally nodded. "I will." "Thank you." Mason's voice grew weaker. "Eleanor, thank you for giving us a home. Thank you for forgiving us." After saying these words, Mason slowly closed his eyes. He passed away peacefully, a smile still lingering on his face. I sat by the hospital bed, gazing at his remains, feeling a surge of sorrow well up in my heart. No matter what, we were once family. I handled Mason's funeral arrangements and also managed to find Micah. These years he had lived a hard life, dwelling in a shabby little house and relying on odd jobs to get by. Upon hearing the news of Mason's death, he cried like a child. "Eleanor, thank you for arranging the funeral for my second brother," he said with a choked voice. I have no money." "It's all right," I said. "Micah, what are your plans for the future?" I don't know," Micah said blankly. "I don't have any skills, I can only do manual labor. Here's what we'll do." I thought for a moment. "I have a farm in the suburbs. You can go there and help out. Room and board included, and the pay isn't bad either." Micah froze for a second. "Eleanor, why are you helping me?" "Because of Mason's request," I said, "also because we were once family." "But Micah, this is the last time. From now on, you'll have to rely on your own efforts to live, no more depending on anyone." Micah nodded vigorously. "I understand, I will definitely work hard." "Thank you, Eleanor, thank you for giving me this opportunity." Looking at Micah's grateful expression, a complex mix of emotions welled up in my heart. Perhaps this was fate's arrangement after all. After all these years of twists and turns, we ultimately had to part ways like this. But no matter what, I've already done what I can with a clear conscience. When I returned home, Nathaniel and our daughter were playing games in the living room. Seeing me come in, our daughter immediately ran over. "Mommy, you're back. Nora, were you good today?" I picked up my daughter. "Very good. My daughter kissed me on the cheek. Mommy, what's wrong? You look a little sad. It's nothing, Mommy's just a bit tired. I smiled. Nathaniel walked over and looked at me with concern. Eleanor, what happened? I told him about what happened today. You did the right thing. Nathaniel hugged me and our daughter. Eleanor, you have a kind heart, and that's what I love most about you. The grudges from the past are all over now, we need to look forward. Yes. I leaned into his embrace. Nathaniel, we still have a long future ahead of us, and we must cherish it well. That evening, the three of us sat on the balcony gazing at the stars. My daughter pointed to the sky and asked, Mommy, do people really turn into stars after they die? Maybe they do, I said softly, stroking her hair. If that's true, then those stars are the people watching over us from heaven. Then I hope all the stars are kind people, my daughter said with childlike innocence. They will be, I replied, looking at the star-filled sky. Nora, always remember, be kind, be honest, and learn to be grateful. That way, you'll become the brightest star among them all. I understand, Mom. The daughter nodded obediently. At that moment, I felt like the happiest person in the world. I had a loving husband, an adorable daughter, and a peaceful heart. The grudges of the past had all been resolved, and the road ahead was still long and winding. I would cherish everything I have now, loving with all my heart and living with purpose. In this lifetime, I've finally come to truly understand life.